Kamelot's 12th studio album, The Shadow Theory, that released in 2018, is a progressive power metal album and features Tommy Kurovic on vocals. And it is founded by someone called Youngblood, who is the lead guitarist. So, 12 albums. This band has been around for a while. I think they formed in the late 80s, I think, but their first album came out in the 90s, I think, if not even the very early 2000s. So, I've only recently kind of gotten into this band. I've been aware of them, though. So, going on Spotify, which I'm on now, just to see the titles and everything and how many tracks there are and everything. Spotify kind of takes what you listen to and then will give you these suggestions of other things you'll be interested in. And Kamelot has come up quite frequently. But for those who know me, know that I'm not really a fan of power metal, because lyrically it's just a lot of cheesy stuff. It's about knights and riding unicorns that shit rainbows or something. It's just a lot of nonsense. It's incredibly cringy and childish, and it's incredibly repetitive. Look at bands like Frozen Crown or Unleash the Archer's early discography, even Dragon Force. Lyrically, it's all the same. Even musically, they do have a very similar pattern to them. So when you are looking through Spotify and the name Kamelot comes out, I just ignore it. I'm just like, well, this is clearly power metal, and clearly I'm not going to like it, because I'm thinking that if it's called Kamelot, they're going to be singing about Camelot and the knights at the round table and good old King Arthur and everything. And I don't care. I'm not interested in this. So I have been aware of the band, and they have constantly come up in suggestions on things, but I do usually ignore it, down to the fact that I believed it to be power metal. The band is technically power metal, and the name Kamelot is an awful name. So how have I come to get into it? Well, it's actually the lead vocalist, Tommy Kurovic, because I think I pronounced his last name right, I'm not too sure. But he is originally from a different band, which he's still in, called Seventh Wonder. So again, I've recently just gotten into that band, and vocally I thought he was incredible. The whole band, Seventh Wonder, is absolutely amazing. I'll get around to reviewing them later, probably. I hope so anyway, if things go right. And I heard that he was in Kamelot recently. So I knew he was there, but again, I still kind of put it off. And then I went onto YouTube, and then there was a vocal coach that was reacting to one of the songs. I thought, I'll see what she has to say on Tommy. But actually, it was the original vocalist. I didn't know his name, but it's escaped me. But anyway, the original vocalist, and it was a 13-minute song. It's Elizabeth Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, put together, 13 minutes long, and she spent 46 minutes on it, just going into depth of just how incredible his voice is. And dear God, was he a good vocalist. I thought Tommy was good, but this guy, Jesus Christ, his vocal performance of that song was insane. So I obviously heard the music, I heard this original vocalist, and I kind of thought, this is incredible. It does have some power metal kind of elements to it, but it's not really that aggressive. It's kind of like just the kind of modern heavy metal, but has power metal elements to it in a way. So, because I liked it, and vocally, this guy was absolutely blowing my mind. It's not basically just like he has a good voice. He has a good voice, he has insane range, and that song is probably one of the most trickiest songs to sing. Even if you're a singer, you have to be a god-tier singer to actually nail that song. I'm not overselling it, I'm not exaggerating. That song, Elizabeth, to sing it the way he does and do all of it note for note perfect to him, would be insanely hard to pull off. Your voice would die, it would fail, it would be so hard to do. So clearly, because I'm used to Tommy, I went and looked into the new album, which is The Shadow Theory. So I listened to a few songs. I downloaded the album. I've since bought the album, so whether that can tell you something. And how many tracks does it have? I think it has 12, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, or maybe 13 actually, unless I've miscounted somewhere there. And the album lasts like 43 minutes, somewhere in the low 40s anyway, which is a bit abysmal when you think about it. Like power metal, just metal in general, you're usually looking at about an hour. Like the music I usually listen to, I'm usually on the hour, if not exceeding by a bit. There's an album I listen to which goes on for 2 hours 7 minutes, so I'm into long as hell albums. So 43 odd, about 40 odd. It does seem really too short, but again, it depends. Does it seem to go by in a flash? Do you seem like you got enough? I guess it depends. But the problem is, you start the album and the first track is The Mission. So this track is just an intro. So off the bat, one of the tracks isn't actually a track. It is just an intro. It's not the band. It's not an actual song you're going to go out and listen to. Like, what song from The Shadow Theory is one of your best that you go to? You're not really going to say The Mission because it's not the band. At least I'd find it bloody weird if you did say that it was one of the better ones. I think that would be insulting to the band, in fairness. So it's about 2 minutes, I think. I've only listened to it once and I just thought, fuck that. So I'm not really sure anymore. But it's not the band. There's no vocals. None of the band are playing. It is just kind of like strings and stuff. It sounds decent enough. But the issue is, it kind of plays into the first actual track, Phantom Divine, Shadow Empire. But it's a weird thing. Like, The Mission does transition into Phantom Divine, so you kind of think, oh well, Phantom Divine's going to start very peculiar then because it's coming off of a different track. Not exactly. So I've not been playing The Mission. I've been going straight into the Phantom Divine to start the album off. But the thing is, doing that, even though it does kind of come off of the previous track, The Mission, it stands on its own. You wouldn't know. Like, if I was to actually just play the album without you knowing there's a prior track and just say, oh, this is the first track on the album, you'd believe it. It does start on its own. So this kind of brings into the effect of what really is the point of The Mission. Because Phantom Divine starts with the transition of The Mission, which is the introduction. Therefore, it means that the beginning of Phantom Divine is still technically an introduction. And the fact that it can stand on its own means that for 8 seconds of this track, you have an introduction that stands on its own. And then you get in. It's just 8 seconds, just like, here we go, 8 seconds, and then 8 seconds up, you're in. You're into the album. As for The Mission, you got 1 odd minute, however long, too long really, of an introduction that doesn't do anything. So you may as well just forget about it and jump into Phantom Divine. But let's skip that, actually. Let's go all the way to the last song on this album, Ministerium Shadow Key. Again, if I've pronounced that bloody right. So, the last track on the album isn't even the band. The last actual track of the band is before this, The Proud and the Broken, which is, I think, maybe perhaps the longest track on the album, and has some decent solos. It's a great track. You're fine to end on this. But no, that track just comes to an end, and then Ministerium, Shadow Key, just starts from nowhere, just does this interlude. Again, it isn't the band, it's not Tommy, there's nothing. It's just an interlude, and then it just ends. It's like, but why? Like, after The Proud and the Broken, you think, oh, well, you got to listen to Ministrium. Like, you can't end the album without it. I don't see why not. I would just finish at The Proud and the Broken, which is the odd thing. Now, getting into some other little tidbits here and there, the Shadow Theory does have a deluxe bonus version, where it contains pretty much every single track in an instrumental version. I think it's missing just a few. And the last track is actually a bonus, The Last Day of Sunlight. So this is a completely new song for the album by the band, and it's a perfectly fine track. It's probably not as good as the tracks you do get on the actual album, so this is probably a B-side, which is why it's here. But again, it gives length to an album, which if you take that first and last track out, you going into the 30-minute long album. Not 30, but into the 30s, the high 30s. I'm not going to be, outrageous with that. But the high 30s is abysmal, really. So you should pad it out more. But then the thing is, if you get the CD version, it's 2 discs. And as I've said, The Last Day of Sunlight is right at the end of the second disc. So you have to take out the first disc, skip all the way to the end, just to get one extra track? Is it me, or is this ridiculous? Don't you think the better place to put this track would be at the end of the first disc, instead of in here? It would then make the actual album better. So the way I've had it is I've downloaded the album in high res, so I'm missing a few tracks, but I don't know if that's just because the app I'm using can't take as high res as it is, so I've only got a few tracks it's allowing me to play. Yeah, I downloaded it, it's high res, and it's took all the instrumental parts out and has just put The Last Day of Sunlight at the end. So after Ministrium, Shadowkey, it goes into The Last Day of Sunlight, and it works. To be honest, I'll actually go into my audio files and probably just delete Ministrium Shadowkey, as well as the first track, The Mission, just because I don't listen to them, and it avoids me having to go The Proud and the Broken. When Ministrium plays, I just skip it to The Last Day of Sunlight, so it'll just save me bloody time. And it'll just make the album a bit bigger, a bit more fuller. But so that's the way I do it, but obviously you then have to delete tracks and piece it together. And then if you got the disc version, unfortunately, you're just kind of screwed. Now, as I said, I have bought the album, and I have bought the deluxe version just because it comes as one of them digipacks, and I adore digipacks over jewel cases. So that's the reason. And it was actually cheaper than the one CD version, because it was like a $5 compared to going to £11 for the one disc version, which is kind of odd. Yeah, so that's the way I do it. But they've done it kind of silly, and all you get basically is take the 2 tracks off. You're looking at, goodness, again, 40 minutes, if not going into 39, 38. It's just kind of abysmal. And then you got the last track, which could give a bit to it, but going album-wise, again, it's just a bit of a pain in the ass just to kind of jump through your instrumentals just to get that bonus track. They should have put it on the album, as I said, just give it more, more weight. So let's actually just get into the tracks now. So Phantom Divine, bracket Shadow Empire. Originally, when I first heard this, I did kind of think it was a bit poor. Only because Tommy's vocals are a little kind of different. So when he comes in for the verse, he goes for a very kind of muted sound, not quiet, just it's not powerful as Tommy can do. He has a powerhouse, very clean, bright, as I say, powerful voice. And Phantom Divine, he starts very softly, Dimension. So it's kind of like he's really kind of restraining his voice, holding back a bit. And then later into the track, it then comes out into the incredible soaring belts that he's able to do. It's not like Britney Slays' type of belts where there's a lot of aggression to it. These are clean belts. They're really nice and bright. They're incredible. So I did kind of think, Tommy, it doesn't sound as big and epic. But the more I've listened to it, I've come to actually kind of appreciate it, because you got your introduction. It's nice. It's very symphonic. You got some kind of strings in there. I think they're fake strings. I do think they're digitally kind of shoved in there. That is kind of a thing throughout the album. There is very symphonic kind of elements that go through the album that have strings and things. But some songs, it sounds more, like genuine than, digitally just shoved in there. So the tracks where they kind of sound like, oh, this does sound really nice, to this sounds very digital for a violin. The one that doesn't sound digital is going to sound better, because a violin should not sound digital. So some tracks do it well, some don't. But again, as I said, Phantom Divine, you got your symphonicness. It sounds big and epic. And then when you get into the opening, it is different for Tommy. So this is showing diversity of his voice. He doesn't really sing like this. So this is a very different style of him, a different range, to show the things he is capable of. And as a vocalist, this is what we love to see. But the fact that it's muted, it means that when the belt comes out, instead of the whole verse being that belt throughout, it wouldn't be as effective. It's the fact that it builds into that, so it's muted, and then when it comes out into the belt and everything, it makes it bigger, it makes it better, it stands out. If he just comes in immediately with the belt and everything, and then just continues it on, it doesn't give as much, because when you come back into the second verse and it's going again, you're aware it's coming. It builds the suspension, it builds the yearning, the urge to hear this belt coming. And again, it shows variation in the voice with the new kind of key that he's in, the new notes that Tommy doesn't really do anywhere else beside kind of here, especially for this biggest segment anyway. And going into the chorus is great. Tommy sings it incredibly well. It is incredibly catchy. And another great thing that the band does is Kamelot seem to always incorporate guest female vocals. Not constantly, that it takes away from the lead vocalist, because I kind of hate it when a band does that, where they have special guest vocals in every single track, because it just seems to kind of take away from how much that the actual vocalist can kind of do, because I want to hear what he can do in his range instead of giving it to other people. So nearer the kind of bridge section, I believe you get a female vocalist. It doesn't say what her name is here, but she sings clean. It gives a whole new dynamic to the song, because obviously her being female will have a completely different voice to what Tommy will bloody have. So it's just a whole new dynamic. It's fresh, and then the energy is still going and everything. It's up-tempo, it's quick. And then before the solo hits, she belts out a scream of the Phantom Divine. So it's Phantom Divine! It's just like, wow, that's incredible. The solo comes in. It is super quick. It is short, unfortunately, which is kind of an issue with the album. All the solos are good, but some of them are a little short, even though are very tasteful. Some of them are a bit longer. Some of them kind of play on a melody a bit too much, like the odd track where it's like, this is kind of the melody we've heard. Kind of deviate yourself a little bit. But overall, as I say, it is good, but a little qualms here and there for the solos. So after his little speed, but after the solo, it goes into a bit more of a melody with Tommy, and then it goes very quiet into little whispers, and then it kind of pounds back into that really catchy chorus. I think it's duetted between the two of them as well this time round, and yeah, it's absolutely great. It's catchy. The vocals are fantastic. The solo is fast, technical, great, a little short, but nevertheless brilliant. Nice little soft moment just to make the impact of the final chorus just that bit richer. It's great. Absolutely amazing. Catchy, brilliant, well sung, well played, symphonic as well. And as I say, it doesn't come across as power metal-y. Some people say, oh, it sounds power metal, but to me it doesn't. And I despise power metal beyond anything. I hate power metal. But to me, this just sounds like heavy metal. Like, lyrically, maybe it's about something weird, but I can't really make that out. If you can always hear knights and horses and everything, and it's just always in your face, then I have a problem. But I don't hear a word that really makes that stand out. Like, I am the Phantom Divine is probably power metal-y more than just typical metal, but it doesn't bother me. Nothing stands out where it's like, oh my god, that's cringy. Oh my god, he's singing about a dragon that's fucking a unicorn. Goodness knows what. Just ridiculous stuff, and here comes a hobbit. I don't get any of that. So it is basically, it's just modern, really heavy metal that has brilliant vocals and takes some elements of power metal. And why not take the good ones, which is what it does. It doesn't take all the cringy crap. So, great. So going on to Ravenlight. Again, it's just an incredible track. It's symphonic. The vocals are great. There's a little adjustment. So where the verse here is a bit more kind of muted, so there's a bit more kind of a softness to it, a bit more kind of melody. Showing a new range, again, that Tommy can convey. And then going into the chorus of Ravenlight, again, Tommy showing some great control of his voice with the way he sings Ravenlight. So Raven, he sings kind of normally, it's got a bit of a kind of creepiness to it. But then the way he does light, he elevates it. So it's Raven and then it's light. So that high, rich kind of note. So 2 notes for 1 word. And then he keeps doing that throughout the chorus, actually. Some notes he goes to that light, high note. And then some of the notes he kind of belts it a bit louder, going up a key. And then other times there's some, like very emotionally driven, because as I say, the chorus, it's Raven like, so it's got that creepiness to it. He puts emotion into it. He's not just singing it for the sake of it. So you've got the control of emotion of every line, of every word, and then you've got the note changes, the kind of belts, and then the light notes and the constant changes and adjusting, as well as being able to focus on that conveying the emotion that he's going for. There's a lot going on, which kind of shows the great control and vocals of Tommy. Just absolutely superb. The solo for this track is a little longer, got a little bit more to it. It's still kind of technical. The majority of the solos on the Shadow Fury do lean into the technicalities over melodies, which is a little bit of an issue for me. There is melody there, I just think it's not really enough. There's a lot of kind of heaviness to it. The guitarist is playing an LTD with active pickups, not passive. All that means is it's basically just a lot more kind of aggressive instead of something that can give more to melody. So when something goes more melodic and you're playing with active, it just means that it's not going to really convey that well. It's not going to be, a really beautiful, warm melody tone because it's an active pickup instead of a passive, which will lean more into that. It would be able to cope with that. As for active, is able to kind of really cope with the aggression. Passive can obviously do aggression as well. It's just there's always going to be that slight warmth to it. Going active, you kind of lose that. So it would be nice if he obviously leaned a bit more into that melody, because the album, as I say, it does have melody. There is a lot of variation throughout the album. As I said, the only issue is just the fact that it is a little kind of dry in areas, unfortunately. So going on to Amnesiac. Amnesiac, this is the issue with the kind of digital side. The track leans very aggressively into the kind of keys and just the symphonic elements again sounds digital because it's turned up quite aggressively. So it doesn't sound very organic. It's a good track. It's just the kind of it's too as I say, it's just too digital. If they turn that down, the track is perfectly fine. There is nothing wrong with it. It's just, it is too digital for what it should be. So, yeah, it's a good track. Vocal performance, brilliant. But again, a bit too digital. So Burns to Embrace, I think takes a bit more kind of progressive elements. The first few tracks have been a bit kind of simple and short and structured. Burns to Embrace seems to go through a bit more of a transitional kind of period. It starts, it's symphonic as per usual. When you get to your verse, it's soft and everything. Then it kind of builds and it goes through its paces. It goes through its changes. So this is where it leans more into that progressive element, which I kind of like. The only issue with this is just the vocals of the chorus are a little difficult. Because when he starts, it's basically, we are the masters of the earth, which is kind of power metal cheese there. And then when he sings Burns to Embrace, for some reason I keep thinking of sexually transmitted diseases. I've ruined it for everyone listening now who actually likes this song, because every time they hear Burns to Embrace, they're going to think of the sexually transmitted disease, probably. I imagine it isn't about that. It may be, for all I know, but I doubt it. But yeah, I always think of that whenever he thinks Burns to Embrace. I'm thinking, oh, sexually transmitted disease. I don't know. I'm an idiot, basically. I'm a moron. So, yeah, just forget about that. Forget I said anything. But, yeah, the lyrics are a bit kind of cringy. Not the Burns to Embrace part, but obviously the we are the masters of the earth. It's just a little much, really. Lyrically, I don't really know what it's about. It may be really bad, or it may kind of make sense and I may actually like it. But that little segment is the segment that sticks out. As I say, if you can listen to an album, some lyrics can stick with you, some don't, and you can just listen to a vocal performance. This, I can hear the vocal performance, not really delve into if there is any cheesiness in lyrics, but that segment really sticks out pretty poorly. But as I say, the rest of the track is fine. At the end of the track, they even bring in children. So there's a few children. The main vocalist of the children is actually the son of the founding member, Youngblood, the guitarist, or is it the keyboardist? It's the son of one of the bloody members. So it's his debut. He comes, he sings with other kids at the end. Just we are the masters of the earth. Again, it sounds a little kind of cheesy at being children, but I'm trying to think maybe with the children it's that innocence thing, like we are the masters of the earth. So maybe it's us putting a lot of weight into children, that they become rulers of the earth. Humans have utmost control over earth and everything, and it's just so much control. Or maybe we're putting so much onto kids that we start corrupting their innocent minds or something. I don't know. That's just a theory where it's like that might make the children make sense, and what they're singing about really make sense and be quite deep and actually impactful and very meaningful. But again, it depends. I don't really know. But that would make it work. So going into the next track, In Twilight Hours. This track is really, really beautiful. So this is basically a ballad. I would call it a power ballad because it has more, stronger moments to it. So you've got acoustic guitar, I believe, at the start. There's some piano playing, which is very nice. It's nice to get the piano out, just give a little bit of a differentiating music from what we've heard, because we've always heard electric, so now we go acoustic, get that out here. These guitarist side of that, something fresh. And then we've heard the keyboardist do keyboard but not piano, so it's nice. He's still playing on the keyboard clearly, but it's just nice to hear something fresh and new. And then hear Tommy obviously kind of singing in this new environment to put his voice. And the fact that he has a lot of range, what's he going to do? And what he does is incredible. It's incredible, his voice. It is so clean. And he keeps elevating words. So he'll do a passage of vocals. And then at the end, he'll project the word, he'll enhance it and make it higher, a different key change. It's so nicely sung and controlled. It's so clean and warm, has great emotion to it. It's really well sung. And then the next best part is eventually a new female actually comes in. I believe someone said that it's the vocalist of Epica. I don't know because I don't like that band. But it's a clean voice throughout. She sounds incredible. She has a great contrast between herself and Tommy. They both work fantastically together. When she's done her part, the music swells and builds up, and then you got the electric guitar come in and the keys and everything, and then you got Tommy and her singing together, and oh my god, is it beautiful. It is so nice. Like, Tommy will sometimes take the higher note, or she'll take the higher, and they interchange between each other, so they're not just exactly the same. They're together, but they let each other shine and have their moments in the spotlight, even though they're singing together. It's just so well done. And this isn't even their best ballad. I think they have a better ballad on their prior album, Haven. I've only kind of skipped through that because I've been focusing aggressively onto this. So it's really nice. And the solo, again, obviously it's going to lean a bit more into the melody, so it does kind of take advantage of the melody that's been established, but goes outside of the melody. So it's like he uses the melody as a foundation and then builds his solo on top of that by adding more kind of elements and technicalities to it. So again, it does kind of lean technical. It's not the nicest of tones, probably again due to the pickups, but it's fine. It's great. I like it. Kevlar Skin, we're going heavier, and again, it sounds absolutely incredible. I love this Kevlar Skin. It's got a fantastic chorus. The solos are good, and this is kind of the way it goes for the tracks. Stories Unheard brings a bit more melody back into it. That has its heavy elements again. Vespertine, My Crimson Bride, Tommy does take a bit more of a darker vocal approach, kind of sounding like the lead vocalist, what's his name, Velo or something, from the band Him. It is known as Him, but the lengthier version is his Infernal Majesty or something. Something ridiculous anyway. It's a crap band, but vocally he is pretty good, but doesn't have a lot of range. It's just basically the range he has is good, but there's not much else to him. So Tommy does kind of actually seep into that range, which is so yeah, is again good. It shows the range that the guy has. So let's just wrap this up, seeing that I don't really know where I've gotten to because the mic cut out and I went on for a bit without knowing. So yeah, overall every track is pretty good. So the first track, useless, just delete it or skip it. Phantom Divine, really good track. As I said originally when I heard it, I kind of thought, oh, this is just kind of mainstream, there's not much to it. But the more I get into it, it's just so catchy. The use of female vocals on it. The solo is good and fast, a little short perhaps. Tommy's voice is varied and unique, and it's powerful, it's great. So is the female, her voice is brilliant. Raven Light, bit of a softer kind of verse and then chorus, them very bright light notes and everything, and just the variation again with Tommy. Solo is great. Amnesiac, good track, a bit heavy on the attacks, all the digital stuff. Burns to Embrace, a bit more progressive, has some cheesy lyrical lines, has the young boy choir at the end. But overall, again, good. And Twilight Hours, the power ballad, incredible. Kevlar Skin, bringing it back to being heavy again. Really good, energetic chorus. Just really good Kevlar Skin for the chorus. Static, good. Mindful Remedy, great chorus. Stories Unheard, a bit more melody again. Vespertine, My Crimson Bride, as I said, kind of like Vila Valo, whatever his name is from him. Deep, and then The Proud and the Broken, pretty long track, some good solo stuff. And then Ministerium, again, just stop at The Proud and the Broken, there's no point listening to Ministerium. And if you can, do get the bonus song, The Last Day of Sunlight. It'll just add a bit more because the album is short in nature, so just that little extra just to, you know, flesh out the album more, because it does need it. It is kind of short. And yeah, that's it. As I said, the bonus track, it does seem to be a B-side. It doesn't really hold up compared to the rest of the songs, but it is still decent and good. Solo's a bit poor. It is a bit kind of basic in structure. So overall, a good album. There's nothing really bad about it. I like everything on it. But then again, there are downsides. As I said, the length is a downside. The fact that you got an intro track which isn't needed as the first track has an intro to it. The ending of the album has to have an outro. I don't know why you need to prep your audience to stop listening. It's a waste of time. And then the deluxe, the fact that you get a bonus track, I'm glad that you can get a bonus track, but the way they position it on the second disc right at the end, so you actually have to change discs and skip instead of have it just naturally flow and progress if it was connected to the first disc at the end, which is the way I've got it from the download. It said right after Ministerium, and going into my files and deleting that track after The Proud and the Broken, I'll go immediately into that track, which is the way it should be heard. So you're looking at, with that, just over 40 minutes and without, and taking them stupid instrumental tracks out, that, as I said, aren't the band. You're looking at shy of 40 probably. So them things are an issue. As I said, solo-wise, you get key solos, you get guitar solos. They are all very technical and good. But at times, as I said, it's a little short, or it plays on the melody, but most of the time they are lengthy. There's great technicality to them, they're brilliant. Tommy is just phenomenal, his voice is fantastic. The guest vocals they bring in from time to time is incredible, and really adds to it. Instead of it just being another guy who kind of sounds like Tommy, so you kind of think, what's the bloody point? It just adds so much depth and nuance and diversity to what you've heard. Phantom Divine, it really changes the song. It really adds absolute leaps and bounds to it. In Twilight Hours, it is such a beautiful duet, again giving such range, diversity, variation. Just so much to see and hear. And from track to track, again there is diversity. Tommy goes through a wide range of things. Some verses start melodic, or then go to heavy, or it's just a bit more melodic or slow or fast. So there are little things here and there, some things a lot more heavier or more kind of just the average, and stuff that's more kind of digitally effects. Then you've got different length songs as well, even though most of them are on the short side. So there is a lot to like, but as I said, the first track, the last track, abysmal. The bonus track, great, but for the CD version, a bit of a pain in the ass. What else? The special guests, fantastic. Tommy, fantastic. Solos, good, but could be better. The length, abysmal. So there are good and bad. I haven't really heard the rest of Kamelot. Obviously, as I said, I've heard Elizabeth, and that's a 13-minute track that goes through so much and so much range. There's nothing like that on this album, which is very disappointing. I have listened to the prior album like once, so it's kind of hard to guess. But I believe that is a longer album by a decent amount. I still don't think it peaks an hour, but I do think it is longer. There's more tracks to it as well. Still special guests, and I think overall it seems to be better. The issue with Shadow Theory, when you can kind of compare it to Haven, is the Shadow Theory is more mainstream. As I've said, everything's catchy and everything is great, but it is very mainstream. So your songs do have the typical kind of pattern of the structure of music. You have to have your introduction and then your verse, chorus, and then have a solo and then finish on a chorus. You know, the typical thing. As for Haven, there seems to be more to it, just kind of more depth. Shadow Theory seems a bit more kind of radio friendly, a bit more kind of upbeat. As for Haven, it has more gothic moments, more slow, somber moments, more melancholy. It's darker. Shadow Theory, it's just, as I say, it's just mainstream sounding. As I say as well, the digital effects as well, they do kind of lean at times very hard into digital sounds, and even the symphonic orchestra stuff with strings sometimes sounds organic and other times does sound like it's a violin from a laptop, which doesn't sound great. The tracks are short. Haven, as I said, there's just more to it. I think the first album with Tommy, he does an actual 3-part song as well. I think it's on the first album of his, not Haven. So that obviously shows a lot of more kind of depth to it. As for the Shadow Theory, it's just quick, simple, catchy. So because of that, it isn't as good. Again, I haven't really delved into it, so I may change my mind, but so far from listening to Elizabeth and then the ones through of Haven, this does kind of fall short. It needs to just have more to it, more dynamics, longer songs, just bigger, instead of, confined. If it's the one-off, then I guess that's fine. Something short, simple, really catchy and energetic. It's all right to have that one album in your catalogue. And if this is it, then that's fine. It just shows something new, something different. So scoring this, as I said, the length is pretty bad. The first and last track, kind of bad. Solos could be better, even though they are still really good and strong. Tommy is fantastic, a bit kind of digital, a bit radio friendly, but all the tracks are solid and I like all of them. There's not a track where it's like, oh, I could skip this. I like every single track and they're all fantastic. It's hard to really pick what's good and what I would leave out. It's like, I'd want everything. They are all just like as good as each other. It's hard to really tell. So, and then knowing that they've done better, even though that this album is great. If it weren't for the other albums and knowing that Kamelot can do better, I would rate it higher than what I'm going to. So, just so you know, but they can do better. And therefore I have to rate lower to make room for the stuff that is, I imagine, better. If I give this an 8, it is still great. It's just unfortunate they needed more tracks. They needed the tracks to be longer. Because they're so short and the album's so short, commit to a solo. Really lengthen it out. Show the variation. You've got a great guitarist and a good keyboardist. Show it more. Like, you show it on every track. The solos on every track. It is technical, so I know they do show it, but showing more variation to you. As I say, a lot of the solos are technical. Show your songwriting skills for solos, show your creativity and your variation of what you can do with the guitar, instead of it's just really leaning into technicalities with some melody put into it. It's not like he's Herman Lee or anything, but as I say, it's a bit much. So yeah, 8 out of 10, which on my score means it's a great album. It is absolutely great.
I recommend it. People who hate power metal like I do, this it's a shit name, I know. Kamelot is an awful name, but the band is incredibly talented. It is like heavy metal. It's not power metal sounding. It doesn't have. It may have cringy lyrics, but you're not going to be apparent to it. It is absolutely amazing. And then I'm really looking forward to going through their other albums, just because the whole band are incredibly gifted, and to hear what they've got. They got a live DVD CD that they put out in 2020, so I'm looking forward to even seeing that, just see Tommy and how he sounds live, and just his techniques of mic work, as well as his notes and his stances and everything, and his kind of placements, if he sings with the head voice or chest and things, see how his mouth works with tensions in the vocal cords to get some kind of like grit or something, hear the timbres. I'm just really interested just to kind of see how he performs live, because on the album there is a lot going on, so I want to see how he actually performs it. So that is it from me. This is gone on quite long again, so I'm just gonna fuck off now and leave you to it. So it will either be another Kamelot one, maybe Seventh Wonder or something else. I don't know. I'm just gonna try and keep going. So until the next one, I'll see you guys later. Bye.